Let me call the meeting to order. This is a regularly scheduled, called and convened City of Greer Council meeting. Want to thank Councilman Arrowwood for leading our last meeting in my absence, and look forward to getting back in the saddle here again. So with that, we will begin our meeting with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance led by Councilman Paul Lamb. If you'd like to join us, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Dear Lord, as we gather to address important matters, we seek your guidance and wisdom. Help us listen with open minds, understand diverse perspectives, and make decisions that best serve our citizens. Guide our council to act with integrity, ensuring our words and actions reflect your grace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Ms. Duncan, anybody to appear in public forum this evening?
No, sir.
With that, council, let's move to the minutes of the meeting. They are contained in your packet. These are the minutes from February 24th, 2026. I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. Any items of note for the clerk? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. With that, then, let's move to the administrator's report. Mr. Merriman.
Mr. Mayor, welcome back, and I'm glad to see you're healing. You're as spry as they come, I think. At least I haven't seen you walking around yet, so we'll see. But welcome back. Mr. Arrowwood did a great job in your absence. Reminder, statement of economic interest forms are due March 30th at noon. Mr. Lamb and Mr. Lander, I know this may be your first year doing those, so if you have any questions, reach out to me or to Tammy, but they're fairly straightforward. The Cultural Arts Division, I want to congratulate the Cultural Arts Division, Robin and her team. They won gold for the Dia de los Muertos Festival in 2 categories for the Southeast Festivals and Events Association 2026 Kaleidoscope Awards. So these are very prestigious awards that recognize some of the best festivals and events across the Southeast. So if you see Robin and her staff, congratulate them. They always do a great job. And then don't forget to mark your calendars for Saturday the 21st. For the first of 4, the Story of Greer events. This Greer 150 series will be hosted by local historian and Greer Heritage Museum Director David Lovegrove at the historic Greer Depot, and will detail the history of our community's earliest days. This is all part of our sesquicentennial celebration that begins this month in earnest. And the last thing I want to touch base with y'all on are 2 particular items in my administrator's report. One is an impact fee report that is due according to the ordinance annually, and all I'd like to do is run through just the basic collection data, and then I'll open this up to any questions that you may have. But one of the requirements is to make recommendations for changes to the impact fee ordinance. At this time, staff does not recommend any changes to the impact fee ordinance. However, I will say that there are a number of initiatives at the state level that could kind of color our need for the discussion for a transportation impact fee. If you'll recall, when we went through that process a couple years ago, it involves a study that's outlined by state code. Once that is complete, there is a mathematically derived fee that can be levied, and of course in the categories I'll go over that we're at the maximum of those fees. But if we did a transportation impact fee, it would be the exact same process. But with looking at the state's road divestiture discussions, looking at how the state is addressing the potential for a 1-cent sales tax option for municipalities in counties that do not have a 1-cent sales tax. We'll wait and see how all of that plays out. But as of now, the impact fee ordinance is satisfactory to staff's and staff's interpretation, and of course, we'll take any insight from council. And also by way of reminder, those funds that are collected have to be allocated and spent, or at least put towards a project within 3 years of collection. By way of reminder, we have 4 different categories for those fees. We have a fire fee, a public safety fee, a parks and rec fee, and a police fee. And again, when this council levied those in October of 2024, those were the 4 that were recommended by our consultant. We are looking at currently a year-to-date collection of about $300,000. As a matter of fact, $300,870 to be exact. In
Fiscal year.
this current fiscal year, yes, sir. We are at 100, the 2020, in 2024, when we levied those fees, so that'd be October, November, December, we collected $143,868.20. And then through, let's see, I stand corrected, that is not for the fiscal year, it's a calendar year. That was the calendar year. The calendar year 2025 saw collections of $643,086.90 in all categories, with a total of, for 24 and 25, $786,955.10. So with the 300 we've collected thus far this year, we are over $1 million in impact fee collections. We have not budgeted those for any projects this time. However, as staff goes through our capital needs in the budget this year, as we prepare a budget for this council, that will be a topic of discussion on how we use or recommend the use of any of those.
So we haven't budgeted the 300, well, we have done the other.
We have not budgeted those either, no, so they are just sitting and they are being collected.
So that's 4 mills.
However we need to look at it, yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
sir. But just by way of reminder, the mills are operating annually, and these would be one-time capital improvements.
I understand that,
So,
yes.
You understand that, but is there any questions about the impact fees so far? The Reader's Digest version of what I'm trying to get across is, we've been collecting since October of 2024. Collections are fairly strong. Last year wasn't fantastic, however, we're starting the year pretty well, and those funds have not been allocated in any way, but we need to start looking at how we do that, specifically through a formal capital improvements plan.
So that is a rolling 3 years? Is that how that works in terms of
Yes,
how
sir.
the funds are allocated? So it is continuously rolling based on the 3 years?
It is, and Ashley, if I'm not mistaken, every 7 years we have to look at it, or every 5? Do you recall off the top of your head? I believe 5. I think, okay, it's 5 years we have to go back and recalculate.
On the, you identified the fire, public safety, recreation, and what was the other one?
Police.
Police. Those dollars can be spent where it has a positive effect throughout the city, or say, for instance, on recreation. Is that defined where you spend that money by geography, or is it?
No, sir, it is not. I think I know where you're going with that. It's not predicated on where you've collected the money. So if you, for instance, there's a big subdivision in District 1, and those impact fees were collected, they don't have to remain in District 1. If that was your question.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Now, and I don't know if it yet got any legs under it or not, but I know Greenville County, they've had a brief discussion on impact fees. If they were to so choose to implement those, could that, since we're a different entity, that wouldn't affect us, correct?
At this time, no, sir. Those impact fees would apply to properties, businesses, or residential units that were developed in unincorporated Greenville County. So, no, sir, there would not be an additional fee, a county fee on top of the city fee. Now, there has been some question at the state level, and I think there may have been some challenge, and if I'm not mistaken, it might have been Chester County, where the county was hoping to put on an impact fee on top of the city, but that didn't go anywhere. So I think that's just another piece of legislation we're going to continue to watch.
Okay.
So the impact fees that are, for instance, I mean, we collect impact fees for the police because of the added strain of development on the police, but we don't spend that money with the police station?
Oh, we will, yes, sir.
Okay.
We will spend, the fees collected under the police umbrella have to be used for
By the
that.
police.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, and it'll be used, they have to be used for capital capital expenditures, vehicles,
Okay, not
those kind of
operating
things.
costs?
Yeah, annual operating costs, those kind of things are not eligible for impact fees.
Okay.
Others? Questions in that regard?
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I may move on, and please, at any time, stop me if you've got a question about the impact fees. I do want to give one more update that's specific to our capital projects, and I want to try and keep it, obviously, for Greer initiative related. However, there's a couple other cool things that we're doing I just want to give you some updates on as well. The Gross Meadow Fire Department project, the procurement and project team have issued their solicitation for architectural services. That went out on the 8th, so this past Sunday, with a submittal deadline of the 26th of March. We looked to shortlist those architecture firms the week of April 6th, with evaluation and final scoring April 20th. Intent to award the week of April 27th, with a council presentation May the 12th. The Sports and Event Center, if you've been down Highway 14, you see that we are going strong out there. Precast wall erection is at 100% complete. Structural steel installation is ongoing. The roof deck for the auxiliary gym and tenant space is 100% complete, with staff anticipating presenting the on-site utility easements to council on March 24th and April 14th. So you will have a little more information about some of the utility requests that we'll be bringing to y'all at the end of this month and at your April meeting. The public safety training facility. The range ventilation startup is scheduled for March 9th, so we started that Monday. Ceiling, wall, and floor tile installation is ongoing. Construction on the wood roof for the burn tower is scheduled for March 2nd to the 16th, so that is currently underway. The front parking lot, final paving will begin in about a month, with the project on track for an April 21st, 2026 completion. And as you know, the downtown parking garage is currently on hold as we continue to look at some economic development opportunities in and around our downtown. And just, these are not for Greer related, but I do want to give you a quick update on two trail projects. The South Tiger River Trail has been buffeted by some challenges to construction progress due to weather. However, storm drain installation and grading was completed on the 24th of February. Stoning prep was completed on February 27th. Concrete pours will be happening, weather permitting, now over the first couple weeks of March, with new substantial completion date June 13th. So we hope on June 13th to be opening the South Tiger River Trail. And as for the Wards Creek Trail, the project is currently in site development plan with city staff. Our plans have been submitted to SCDOT for full review. If you'll recall, we are getting transportation enhancement program money from SCDOT, so they need to bless the plan, so to speak. And actually this week, tomorrow, the 11th, we will be attending a condemnation hearing to just finalize some of the final pieces of the project real estate. I know that was a lot, and that's not all. We've actually currently have 15 capital projects going, but these are kind of your big ones that are out in front. Any questions?
No, I would just like to state here at council, and you and I talked about this, I know there are people on council that aren't in favor of signage, good signage at the event center, but I'll just state here, I think we're missing a huge opportunity if we don't budget for a sign that celebrates what we're putting out there and makes it obvious to people that it is something of beauty and that people can take advantage of. I just don't want to miss that boat.
I agree with that, and I think that it goes, I recommended that when we were doing a plan review of the layout. And it just wasn't something that just I formulated in my head. It actually comes from something that was done at one time where the Greers, the old Greer citizen, when there would be a Legion game, they would put a sandwich board outside their office and say, Legion game tonight, have the time, that kind of thing. And that's what got the juices flowing or the brain turning, whatever you want to say. But that's similar. But one of the things that we had then that we don't have now is a newspaper. You know, and in the newspaper, it would list all these activities from it's time to sign up for recreation programs, or Greer plays tonight, or Riverside baseball is on tonight, all that kind of stuff. Because we value recreation. I don't think we just value the recreation that directly comes from the city proper. I think the entire city, all the recreation that goes on. And so that's a means, that's a method to get that message out there. There may be something going on that at the new facility that they don't have folks that are involved, but they say, yeah, I'd like to go out there tonight and watch that. You know, there are people who still go to, let's just take high school for an example, go to the high school basketball games, or go to the high school football or baseball, whatever. Well, we're going to be hosting some tournaments, some pretty major tournaments. There's a lot of folks coming through, and I just think we are missing an opportunity if we don't do that, we're just missing this opportunity to let people know, hey, this is going on. It's not just going on here. It's all across our city. We've got all these good things going on in our city. And I think it'd be a big benefit. And yeah, there'll be an increase in cost with a digital sign. But when you compare it to the percentage increase in the cost, I mean, it barely makes a blip on the radar screen. I think.
And we've got a first-class sign maker in this city.
Yeah, I think that it's something that, because it would be a change order, that I think it would be prudent that we talk about it, us seven, and see where it lands.
Well, there's certainly a lot of traffic going to pass through by that every day.
Yeah.
So if I am always concerned about spending, but so even if we couldn't do it, we need a big message board. I don't know whether we can afford it now or not, and it's got to be readable from the road or it's not worth the money to buy it. I mean, you know, and that also, Ashley can probably tell us that probably violates our UDO. But we can change that.
Hey, we can get the DOT to put us in one of those big message boards that goes all the way across the interstate. Everybody's got the message then. But no, I think it's I think it's a matter that's worth the attention of council. Whether we do it or not, I think council needs to talk about it and the pros and cons, and then go from there.
We currently have a line item for some kind of signage, right?
Yes, sir. Actually, we have a line item in the GMP for signage. It includes the monument signage, whatever form that was going to take or that will take at the roadside, but that includes the entire signage package for everything on site and within the facility.
Okay.
It'd be an increase to that line item.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got some impact funds that go to recreation.
Well, that cuts off one of those mills you want to get rid of. So,
Well, I don't think
We'll lower it 3 then and get
Yeah.
a sign.
All right, council, in that regard, that if this is something that council wants to pursue, there's obviously some questions that need to be answered before we get into a discussion
Yeah.
in regards to, what this would entail and how much more. I mean, to your point, in the scope of the entire project, it isn't that much, but nevertheless, I think it's going to be something that we're going to want to gather some information about. We're going to want to know about the sign ordinance and all those sorts of things. What concerns me a little bit is, as fast as we are moving at this point in time, that's a discussion that needs to be had sooner rather than later. So if this is something that this council wants to do, I would suggest that if somebody wants to, and certainly not tonight, we can't do it, but put this as a matter of discussion for adding or a discussion about the signage, so we can start gathering the information that we're going to need.
Yeah, I
in the
think it would be
long run.
prudent that we put it on for our next meeting. That's as quick as we can all gather, and that gives staff a couple of weeks to get some basic information, and then we'll know at that point.
I agree.
I don't know how quickly we can gather the information, but I think we can gather the information if that's where the council wants to go on this.
Mr. Mayor, I feel confident that we can get enough to get y'all started, both with any regulatory roadblocks that might exist under our current UDO, plus any construction and cost-related ballpark numbers that we could work out. So we can get the conversation started.
If they, I'm assuming that the monument sign that's going to go, that was planned to go on that side, it will be lit, so there's power, it's either already roughed in or it's.
Yes, sir. The sign design, the monument signage has not begun in earnest. There is some placeholder type designs
Yes.
that have been done. And just by way of, and we can talk about this next week, but just by way of a little bit of background, as we looked at a couple things, the GMP in particular, the cost of the signage, the sign's proximity to 14, plus the idea in theory, and this is for y'all to debate, but we were kind of thinking that is this iconic gateway marker almost as we get into Greer, past the industrial area, that it was an opportunity, just as y'all have articulated, it's an opportunity to put something out there iconic. So we're in agreement with that. The question really boiled down to digital signage or non-digital signage, and then it was predicated on cost. I say all that to say that's kind of how we got to where we are with the number of the GMP. This is council's prerogative, and I would encourage y'all to have a debate about this. We will make sure that we have information for you next week or at the next council meeting.
I don't know if this makes a difference from a funding perspective. I'm curious if accommodations tax marketing dollars could be allocated for something like that, just out of curiosity.
I can verify that the answer to that will be yea or nay. That will be part of the discussion. Yes, sir.
All right, we'll move forward then. Anything else in your
No,
report?
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, that does conclude my report.
Okay.
I do have one question. And I saw this, I was driving through Greenville, went to a record store, Riley, and,
They still do that?
huh? Yeah, they do, actually. Huge business. But I was going through a neighborhood, and the street obviously had become a cut-through, and they put speed humps. But these were made, they didn't look temporary, but they were made from heavy-duty plastic. Is that what we're gonna put in? Is that what we?
I believe the product is not plastic, but I do believe it's a rubberized product that's gonna go in there that is designed to be permanent-ish.
I like the idea. I mean, it was the same height, width, and looked like it was holding up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's several sources of those things, and we've looked at them, I know, a time or two, from an engineering standpoint. Most of them come with the emergency vehicle slots in them as well, too. Some of them are solid all the way across. Some of them, particularly in neighborhoods and other places, have got the slots for the emergency vehicles. that's something we can take a look at as well, too. Thank you, Mr. Merriman. Before we go on, in relation to the Sports and Events Center and some of the other projects that are going on, a quick shout out to our communications team. Those folks have done a yeoman's job of documenting what is going on with all of these projects. And the reports, or whatever we want to call it, that we're doing with some of our contractors and others have just been fascinating to hear from those folks how proud they are to be working on these projects and how they're coming along, and being able to see them tilt those walls up and how fast that took place, and some of the other things. It is entertaining, it is informational, it is a way for us to show not only what we're doing, but those vendors and contractors and the people that we interview is just been, I think, one of the best things that we've done through the course of these projects. Just really well done as well, too. We're probably wearing the drones out. We got so much drone footage, but when you're tilting those big walls up, I guess you do have to get 100 feet in the air. So shout out to our communications team. Thank you for all that y'all are doing. With that, then, we'll move to old business. We have no old business before us this evening, and we only have one item, or two items of new business. The first item of new business this evening is the first reading of ordinance number 6-2026. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of certain property owned by Kimberly Chaplin Edens, also known as Kimberly Sims, located at 116 and 118 Pleasant Drive, and Pleasant Drive from suburban neighborhood to traditional neighborhood. Ms. Cotty joins us this evening for that discussion. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So as the mayor indicated, this is a rezoning request. These are 3 parcels totaling a little over 25 acres, located at the intersection of Pleasant Drive and South Buncombe Road. It is currently zoned suburban neighborhood, and they are requesting traditional neighborhood. This is an aerial map of the property. Again, all 3 properties are highlighted. This is a current zoning map. Again, it is currently zoned suburban neighborhood. The similar color that you see across the street and to the north is also suburban neighborhood. The bright blue that you see is manufacturing and logistics. The future land use map calls for mixed employment, although this is kind of right on the border between traditional neighborhood and mixed employment. And then existing conditions on the ground. I'm sure many of you know this property. It was a former pecan grove. It did get fairly impacted by Helene a couple years ago. So this is a little more up-to-date picture than the aerial. In terms of staff analysis and recommendation, given the surrounding residential uses, as well as the surrounding warehouse uses, and the comprehensive plan, again, while it calls for mixed employment, it is adjacent to traditional neighborhood. Staff does feel that traditional neighborhood is a good transition between the more intense use of industrial and then the suburban neighborhood. So staff does recommend approval. Planning Commission held a public hearing, and they also recommended approval 5-0. I am happy to answer any questions. We do have a representative here as well that can answer questions.
For the purpose of discussion, do I hear a motion to receive?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Floor is open for discussion. By show of hand, is the owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? Thank you. Are you available for questions if they arise? Thank you. Floor is open.
Ashley, explain something to me. You feel like traditional neighborhood is a segue going into suburban neighborhood. right? That's what staff said.
Yeah, so it's a transitional zoning,
so
so
what-
between lower density and larger lots, and this is a little bit denser, although the proposed density, as you'll see, I think you were handed, is actually pretty low. It's a suburban neighborhood density, but does allow for smaller lot sizes. And again, we look at the zoning, not necessarily the proposed project, but the whole gamut of things that could go there.
So I guess the whole gamut would include, let's say somebody, not this development, but another wanted to put a community store in there. Is that part of the thinking?
I mean, staff would have also recommended approval if they were requesting a rezoning for something along the lines of commercial. Again, we would have felt that that was a good
Well, no, I'm just trying
transition.
because people will ask me questions. What's the, what was your thinking and you said it was higher density, but of course, by the
Or it
plan.
could be, yes.
Could be, yes. But is that the reason that y'all recommended that you felt like the ability for them to build more was a better transition, or?
Sure. I mean, so there are a couple different zoning districts that could be appropriate here. So our decision is what they're requesting appropriate. So we take a look at what all that district allows, what could be the max build out, generally what that type of product or lot size would be. And the number one thing that we take a look at is the future land use map in our comprehensive plan. We also look at existing zoning in the surrounding uses. Then we also look at what's actually on the ground versus zoning, because we know that doesn't always match up. So, I mean, in this case, being sandwiched between warehousing and then suburban neighborhood type development, being located along a major corridor of South Buncombe, staff did feel that the higher density residential was a little bit more appropriate than its current zoning of suburban neighborhood. But again, we would have probably recommended approval for, say, a commercial corridor or commercial general, but that wasn't the request.
So I was looking through it, the total acreage is 26.78 acres, and suburban allows for 4 units per acre, but a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. Are these lots that are in the center under the 10,000? Is that why we're requesting it, or?
So I believe they're requesting it for lot size. So traditional neighbor, and you can ask the applicant, but based on the site plan that I've seen, the density is well under the suburban neighborhood density. So it appears that it's based on lot size. So traditional neighborhood does allow for smaller lot sizes and smaller side and rear setbacks.
Yeah, okay. And we have a green space percentage, right? Is this going to meet that
Yes.
without the retention pond? Or without I guess that's an existing pond from
Correct.
Google
It really
Maps.
depends if the pond, right now, it's not a retention pond. Based on our
Yeah.
planning advisory committee, this project did come at the end of February, so it's been through a very preliminary review, but they haven't submitted full civil drawings at this point. But based on that, they would like to use the pond for stormwater. We do have provisions in our UDO to allow up to 50% to count towards the open space if it's activated. So if it has a trail around it, if the slope is less than, if it's not a very steep slope. So a portion of that pond could count towards the open space, but it wouldn't be able to count for all of it.
Just as a matter of, I guess, why, you've got open space. Now, is that how we define that in the UDO, is open space, or is it green, what is it, what do we call it?
So we have open space requirements, we have number of form requirements, and then we also have active.
Okay, open space, what is that?
So I believe open space is 10%. It may
No.
be more based on the acreage.
What is open space?
Oh, it can be anything that is active, so it could be a pool, it could be a walking trail, it could be just undisturbed trees, natural area. But we do require 25% of the required open space to be active.
Now, what is active?
So I'd have to give you the exact definition from the code. But again, that's something where people are actively able to use it. It couldn't be anything with the slope of three or less, 3 or steeper. Sorry, I said that wrong. So it would have to be a dog park or a cabana or a fire pit or a trail, a linear park
Or a
that's
pond for it to
flat.
fish in? That counts as?
It could,
Okay,
absolutely,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure the plan for the pond, but
The other thing, and this is off subject because I know this doesn't apply to that, but you said 3% slope. Mm-hmm. Why do we say 3%?
typically we require anything that's going to be steeper than that. It has to be on open space or maintained by the HOA. And we've just had drainage issues in the past with homeowners.
No, I kind of go to, it would be a unique site, but let's say there was like a rock wall face that was natural and they wanted to, that's a playground for adults.
They don't want to pay the insurance.
I think we can take a look at it though. I don't think it's out of the question.
As long as we know how we're defining things, that's good.
Yeah, we just don't count that typically as active because it's usually really steep and you can't walk, you want something flatter. But you could certainly have it and we could take a look at it if it met, if you truly could climb on it, I think that would absolutely meet our definition of active
And
open
if
space.
Just for my information, on the open space, if they said, you know what, this is gonna be all concrete, and we want the slope on it so the kids that live there, they can skateboard. Does that count?
It would. It would obviously have to be accounted for in the stormwater plan.
Sure,
Of
yeah,
course,
yeah. Okay,
because it's
that's fine.
impervious.
Enough
But
of
yes,
my-
that could absolutely
enough
count
of
a
my
skate park.
questions. Yeah.
No, that's a great question.
Yeah, so,
Given this discussion, would the applicant
Yeah.
like to add anything to it? Are you far enough along to feel confident in discussion, in this discussion?
Sure,
And if
thank
you'll
you.
state your name and address just as a matter of the record, please.
Certainly. Michael Roth with TMC Development, 26 Elmsley Road. Council members, thank you for being here tonight. Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to get this property under contract. I think, unfortunately, it was due to the damage that they sustained from Helene. But when we met with Greer staff, we originally presented a plan that showed 85 lots, I believe. And as we've been talking with some of our builder partners, we've kind of come to this plan that's before you today that I circulated before the meeting, that has been through around the pack. So it's been thought out pretty well. Regarding the pond, it's a beautiful pond. We would love to save it. We do not want to add an ugly detention pond. And so at the chagrin of our engineer, we are studying very hard how we can modify that pond for it to accept our stormwater and treat water quality and water quantity to maintain the integrity of that pond, and it really to be an addition, and as we see it, active open space for that community. As it relates, I'm happy to talk about anything else as it relates to this subdivision and the rezone before you.
What is the rough size of the smallest lot?
It's roughly 55 by 125. So off the top of my head, that might be 7,000 feet.
Yeah. So it's not too far off of the suburban neighborhood, right?
That's right. With our original design, we really needed the rezone. We still do with what we're shooting for. I would say the rezone to the traditional neighborhood gives us greater flexibility on the lot size and the setbacks.
Now, when this gets rezoned, or if it gets rezoned, I guess, and I guess this is more for you, Ashley, we rezone this piece of property as traditional, and TMZ decides not to build it and sell this property, or sell this project, I guess. Somebody could come back and under the zoning of that property, build up to 10 parcels per acre.
10 units per
10
acre, yes.
Yes, 10
Mhm.
units per acre.
Yes, that is accurate. Again, when staff looks at whether the zoning is appropriate, we are not considering the proposed site plan. We're considering all of the things that could go there. But yes, that is accurate.
But you would still recommend, I think you said that, right?
Staff would recommend, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Actually, you said something, and I feel like we should clarify it, because I think it was an accident. You said 3% slope. I think you
I
meant
did.
3 to 1
I'm
slope.
sorry, I
Yeah.
did, yes.
I just want,
This is
people-
really an engineering term that I shouldn't get myself into, but yes, very steep slope is steeper
Yeah.
than 3 to 1.
Big difference
Thank
between
you.
3 to 1 and 3%.
Thank you for clarifying.
Others? Questions? Discussion? Comments? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Lander,
No.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
No. Council, let's move forward. Thank you, Ms. Cotty. Let's move to the second item before us this evening. Councilman Karin Booker has asked for discussion only, a discussion around vape and smoke shops. Mr. Booker, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. And for the record, staff has provided a map of some of actually all the vape and smoke shops located in Greer. But also you have before you, I've written down exactly my take on what we're going to be discussing tonight. You can follow along. I'm going to read it. But again, this is just for clarification of my intent, and so we're all clear on what I'm trying to do. But I'll start reading. It says, Mayor and City Council members, Greer has always been a community willing to take a stand for the well-being of its people. If you ever heard David Lovegrove with Greer Heritage Museum speak, he often reminds us that in Greer's earliest days, the town actually had more brothels than businesses. Our forefathers saw that as a threat to the character of the community and took an unprecedented step. In April of 1880, Greer became the first dry town in South Carolina. That decision was not made lightly. It was made by leaders who believed that health, safety, and character of their community were worth protecting. Today, we face a different challenge, but one that calls for the same thoughtful leadership. Greer is growing rapidly, and with that growth comes new businesses and opportunities. That is something we should welcome, but growth also brings responsibility. We must ensure that the businesses opening in this city reflect the kind of community we want Greer to remain for generations to come. Recently, I've raised concerns about the increasing number of vape and smoke shops opening throughout our community. As a council member representative, I believe we must pay attention to how this trend impacts the character, health, and safety of our neighborhoods, especially when the businesses are located near schools, parks, places where we worship and where young people gather. Now it is important to acknowledge that under federal and South Carolina law, hemp-derived products such as CBD oil and certain vaping products are legal. Businesses selling these products are operating within the law. However, legality does not remove our responsibility as local leaders to consider how these businesses fit into our overall fabric of our community. This conversation is not about targeting any individual business owners. It is about asking a simple but important question: are we striking the right balance for our community? I have heard from parents, educators, and local business owners who are concerned about the growing visibility and concentration of these stores, particularly near areas where families and young people gather. That is why I believe it's appropriate for us to review our zoning and local regulations and determine whether additional safeguards or spacing requirements should be considered. Greer has always been a city built on family values, responsibility, and thoughtful growth. Just as our leaders did in 1880, we must continue making decisions that protect the character and future of the place we proudly call home. Thank you. And with that, that's all I have to say concerning that portion.
Comments or discussion in that regard this evening?
Right now, how are the tobacco and smoke shops categorized? How do we look at them?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Currently, they are not designated any differently than general retail, so it would just be considered retail.
Okay. And do we do the same for liquor stores?
We do not. They are called out separately.
Okay.
Two questions. You're very specific about the vape and smoke stores. There are other types of stores that sell CBD products, and generally they'll say CBD. And you and I have had this discussion. You can put them side by side, and you can tell the difference. What's your thoughts on the CBD shops?
So tonight, discussion's really around the vaping and smoke shops, just because I don't feel like they're currently in compliance with some of the intent of our UDO. And I think from an implementation standpoint, we've created a backdoor and a lower barrier of entry, considering, they're just retail shops. And so, CBD oil, I mean, my personal opinion, I don't smoke, drink, or any of that. So that's not my, that's not my forte. But right now, the big issue is for me, the vape and smoke shops. CBD is something else we can consider, of course, and I'm open to that. But like I said, my focus is more on smoke and vape.
What is your what do you hear from, you say educators? What are they saying? Is it underage folks or?
Yeah, so really the issue we're facing now is, one, this is so new to South Carolina and it's mass produced. The limit of these oils and THC products is supposed to be 0.3. Well, a couple weeks ago, they had a big sweep in Greenville and they, gathered up a lot of items that were beyond the legal limitation. But you can even talk to our police and, anyone in the sheriff's office will tell you that, let's say I go into one of these stores and I want to get, let's say, gummies or whatever, per se. No two packs have the same level of THC. You may pick one pack and it's over the limit. The same pack behind it, it's a different.
It's not regulated.
Yeah, it's not regulated. And so it's.
Control's bad.
Say again?
Quality control's poor.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is the unintended result of legislation that was implemented at the state. And so now it's at our front door where I think people are just seeing it's a potential cash cow, and they're exploiting the legislation currently as it sits.
I did.
But in reference to your direct question of teachers, and I've heard stories from teachers about how parents are now telling their children, especially elementary age, don't take any kind of candy because it looks like, if I get gummy bears, that gummy bear looks like a regular gummy bear. And for a child that is 50, 75 pounds, these products are for adult-sized individuals. So the health implications on them is a lot greater.
Is there if you go into a convenience store to buy beer and wine or a pack of cigarettes, they ask for your ID because there's an age limit. Is that not a requirement for this, or is it?
You'll find that I believe the age limit for vaping is 21.
Yeah.
And if you'll walk around, clearly there's folks that's not 21 doing it. I think just the access to it is so easily. And just one of those vape cartridges is equivalent to 50 cigarettes. Now, I'm not here to legislate morality and say you should or shouldn't do it. I'm saying that the barrier of entry and that loophole of them being able to be classified as retail stores at least should be considered and stopped and have them as a classification as its own so that we are at least aware of what's coming to Greer. Because right now, any open spot, you can just open up a vape or smoke shop as long as it's in the, commercial district.
Is that the same for, Ashley, is that the same for a CBD shop? We also consider them regular retail?
We do not have those called out separately. I believe the only thing we have called out separately right now is alcohol.
Is alcohol, okay.
And what is the call out on alcohol?
So it's defined as its own use. So that means it has its own line in the permitted use table where we say where it's permitted by right, where it's permitted with special exception, and where it's not permitted at all. So it is slightly different for liquor stores than it is for general retail. So I believe in commercial general, like it may be a special exception versus permitted by right. So it's certainly something that can be done. We would define a use, we would create use standards, and then we would put it in the table and define which districts it would be allowed in.
So I guess my question would be then, looking at this map of 13 or 14 current vape shops, the vast majority of them are along highway corridor,
Yes.
which would also include liquor stores. Am I not right?
Correct. Yes.
The other two, one is downtown and the other one is pretty close to downtown.
Where's the one you're seeing downtown?
Cameroons.
Maroons.
And then the tobacco. So even if
Okay.
it were, let's just say for the purpose of discussion, there's at least 11 of these that are located on highway corridor, so that if we went to something similar to the alcohol store, it wouldn't change that, would it not? I mean, it wouldn't.
It would not. So there's a very wide variety of ways that you could regulate. From something less severe, such as stricter signage standards, allowing less percentage for wall space or window, all the way to something as strict or stricter than other businesses, such as separation requirements, like Mr. Booker mentioned. You can place restrictions or separation from certain uses, so schools or churches or others, but those are just examples. And then you could also, separately, this would be a different consideration, you could have separation requirements between like uses. So you could have a certain distance requirement from an existing tobacco and vape shop. Again, there's a variety of other things you could do. I would say those are probably the most popular restrictions for the communities that do restrict them.
Ashley, we've talked about liquor stores, and those are unique, at least in our state, they're the only places that can sell spirits, correct? But these products, I'm assuming, if it's, a lot of the places have tobacco and vape. Tobacco is one thing, but then you have vape, and then you have the other products that they make from the derivatives of the hemp, and they can be sold, and you see them in convenience stores and other places. How would you define that store? That's like the question, I guess.
It's a very good question. I don't have a definitive answer for you. I would think we would probably need to include language of primary retail goods or a certain percentage. We could certainly look up how others define it and provide you with examples to consider. But I agree that it is tough. Is it a gas station that happens to sell them, or is it a tobacco and vape shop that only sells those products? We would certainly have to look at the language carefully.
Now, do you have issue with the tobacco, or is it just okay?
Really, if you look at this map and you look at the areas where most of these are occurring, it's in areas where you would be considered, low, moderate income individuals. So, you've got all along the Sunnyside corridor, all along the, the Needmore corridor. That's my concern is they understand the numbers.
Yes.
And are they targeting these individuals that are most likely to frequent these places? Because if that's if proximity, from an efficiency standpoint, and you're wanting to cover a whole city, you would see some in Paul and some of these other locations, but they're literally isolated amongst a specific corridor.
Well, a lot of them look like they're cheap rental spaces on a high-volume traffic artery. And that's just smart business right there. I'm not sure about targeting, but they've just found a lot of traffic and an inexpensive rental spot.
So to Jay's point, I think if we were talking about tobacco and vape shops, you would have to add pretty much every gas station in this area onto this map, because they all have tobacco and vape stuff, right?
I think that's where we'd have to be very careful with the definition.
Of what it is.
Yes.
Well, I guess it's a two-way street, because you can't go to a gas station and buy a
Buy
bottle of
liquor.
bourbon,
Correct.
right? And not defining it at all is also, I don't think smart at all either, because at the end of the day, if it's just regular retail, you could have a shop that sells, I don't know, gadgets and gizmos, but they also sell this stuff, right? So it has to be defined in some way or another.
You've had conversations with PD. Do they have a program, like a STING method? I remember, years ago when they started changing the drinking, before they started changing the drinking age, there was places that you could go underage, they would sell to underage folks, and the PD would do a STING. Have they done anything like that you know of?
That I haven't asked that question.
I know it's a big deal at the high school level. I mean, my mother works at the high school, and there's a lot of kids that are caught with the stuff at school. So it definitely, to Mr. Booker's point, it definitely makes its way to very underage
Yeah, I think
individuals.
one of the first things we probably ought to do is to get an opinion from the PD, to see if that would even help, because when you talk about high school, I'm assuming underage. I don't know, what's the age to buy a pack of cigarettes now?
21.
Really?
Yeah.
Used to go to the Hardee's across from the old high school, and they had a machine
You get a
there.
sex change at 12, but you got to get 21.
They used to buy them at the high school, right?
All right, any further discussion in this regard? Thank you, Mr. Booker. We have no items this evening in executive session. We stand adjourned.